When your spirit begins to walk under God's guidance, life no longer feels like a struggle, it becomes a journey of purpose. Darkness turns into direction, confusion turns into clarity, fear turns into faith, and every tear becomes fuel for divine transformation. What once felt like a burden becomes part of your breakthrough, and what once felt like a delay becomes proof that God was building you in silence. When you surrender the steering wheel, God doesn't just lead your path, He upgrades your destiny. You don't just survive, you rise, you grow, and you become everything heaven wrote about you before you were born. May God guide your spirit, protect your purpose, strengthen your heart, purify your intentions, and align your steps with His perfect plan. May every storm become wisdom, every delay become preparation, and every breath become worship. Amen. If you believe God is preparing you for something greater, subscribe, your journey has just begun. When God guides your spirit, clarity replaces confusion in a way that cannot be explained by logic, intellect, or human reasoning. It becomes a quiet transformation that starts within your inner being long before anything shifts in the external world. There comes a time in life when the mind becomes overwhelmed by choices, challenges, and unanswered questions, and no matter how hard you try to think your way through, everything seems tangled. But when God takes charge of your spirit, the fog gradually lifts and the path begins to make sense even if the steps are not fully visible. It is not the removal of difficulty but the birth of divine understanding, a deep sense that your soul is being carried rather than forced. You begin to separate what is loud from what is true, what is temporary from what is eternal, and what your heart desires from what your destiny requires. You stop chasing every voice, every idea, and every opportunity, because you learn that not every open door is God's direction and not every closed door is rejection. Discernment starts to grow quietly like a seed becoming a tree, and you find yourself no longer addicted to answers, but instead surrendered to God's timing, believing deeply that clarity is not found by demanding, but by aligning. When God guides your spirit, the confusion that once felt like a heavy storm no longer controls you. Your identity becomes clearer, your priorities sharpen, and your decisions become meaningful instead of rushed. You realize that confusion often comes because you were trying to walk using your own understanding, leaning on your emotions or fears, or trying to please others while ignoring the whisper of the Holy Spirit. There is a moment when God teaches you that clarity is not merely information but revelation. Information can come from people, books, media, or even your own thoughts, but revelation comes from the breath of God, and what He reveals cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. You learn that clarity is not about knowing everything, but knowing enough to obey. Real clarity is not the full map, but the next right step, and that is where faith intersects with divine direction. One of the most powerful signs that God is guiding your spirit is that peace begins to speak louder than facts. Situations may remain complicated, but your heart no longer feels chaotic. You stop trying to force outcomes, manipulate events, or overthink every decision. You become anchored, calm, and steady in your soul. Even when life appears uncertain, your inner being feels held by a truth that is deeper than circumstances. You start recognizing that peace is not the absence of problems but the presence of God in the center of them. His guidance doesn't always remove challenges, but it removes the panic that comes with them. What once made you anxious now becomes a space for trust. You no longer run from challenges, instead, you walk through them with clarity, knowing that every step guided by God has divine purpose attached to it, whether understood in the moment or revealed later. Another beautiful aspect of God-led clarity is that your desires begin to transform. You no longer want what simply looks good, feels good, or is socially approved. Instead, you develop a hunger for what is righteous, meaningful, and aligned with God's will. You stop asking, "Is this allowed?" and start asking, "Is this God's will for me?" The things you once chased now seem small, and the things you once ignored now appear valuable. You learn that clarity is not just about what to choose, but who you are becoming through your choices. When God leads your spirit, He does not simply give you directions, He changes your character, your motives, and your focus. You begin to differentiate your emotional desires from spiritual calling, and the tension between where you want to be and where God is taking you becomes easier to surrender. You find peace in waiting, patience in uncertainty, and purpose in silence. When God is guiding your spirit, He often speaks through stillness rather than noise. Confusion thrives in hurry, but clarity grows in quietness. You learn to appreciate moments of solitude because they become sacred spaces where God whispers what the world cannot teach. Your prayer life shifts from demanding answers to receiving alignment. Instead of speaking constantly, you learn to listen. You recognize that sometimes God answers not with immediate solutions but with internal transformation. You understand that your spirit must be tuned to His frequency, and tuning often requires silence, humility, patience, and trust. You begin to let go of things that drown out His voice, such as fear-based thinking, toxic relationships, unhealthy environments, and impulsive decision-making. As these distractions fade, His voice becomes clearer, and with it, clarity becomes your natural state rather than a temporary experience. When clarity from God arrives, it does not always come in dramatic revelations, dreams, or visions. Sometimes it appears in simple confirmations, inner convictions, repeated signs, or unexplainable peace. God aligns circumstances, conversations, and timing to guide your steps subtly yet powerfully. You may not realize it in the moment, but later you look back and see how each piece fit like divine puzzle work. You begin to understand that what you once labeled as coincidence was actually divine orchestration. Clarity arrives in layers, step by step, season by season, like dawn gradually turning into daylight. God protects you from what you do not know, redirects you from what will harm you, and prepares you for what He has planned long before you even recognize His work. There is also a shift in how you interpret delays, detours, and unanswered prayers. Instead of viewing them as rejection or divine silence, you begin to see them as redirection and divine protection. When God is guiding your spirit, you trust His "no," His "not yet," and His "wait," just as much as His "yes." You understand that sometimes God removes clarity not to punish but to teach trust, patience, and maturity. Real clarity is not just seeing the path, but understanding the purpose. You learn that confusion often arises when you expect clarity without intimacy with God. When intimacy deepens, clarity becomes natural. Another significant transformation is that you stop comparing your journey with others. Confusion often comes from comparison, competition, and envy. You begin to understand that God's plan for your life is uniquely designed, and no one else's path can serve as your blueprint. When God guides your spirit, you stop measuring your progress according to society's timeline or others' achievements. Instead, you trust that the same God who authors your story is perfectly capable of completing it. You accept that what is delayed is not denied, and what does not happen instantly often holds deeper value. You honor your journey without rushing it and celebrate others without feeling threatened. As clarity grows, you also learn how to let go. Things, people, dreams, and identities that no longer align with God's plan fade from your grip. It may hurt, but it no longer confuses you. You understand that pruning is not loss, it is preparation for growth. You accept that clarity sometimes requires separation, because not all relationships, environments, or habits can survive where God is taking you. You learn to let go with grace, because you know that God never removes without replacing with greater purpose. Your heart becomes more aligned with eternity than temporary comfort. Eventually, clarity from God transforms how you define success. Success is no longer measured by possessions, titles, attention, or achievements. It is measured by alignment, obedience, peace, and purpose. You realize that the safest and most fulfilling place on earth is to be exactly where God wants you. His guidance becomes more valuable than your own plans, and His will becomes your greatest desire. You learn to say, God, lead me even if I do not understand, because you are the one who sees what I cannot. When God guides your spirit, you become confident without pride, humble without insecurity, patient without passive defeat, and focused without anxiety. You no longer feel the need to control everything because you trust the one who controls all things. You think, speak, choose, and live with greater purpose. Confusion loses its power because truth becomes your anchor, peace becomes your guard, and God becomes your guide. This is the profound beauty of divine clarity. It does not just change your decisions, it changes you. It gives you a renewed mind, a transformed heart, and a steady spirit. And when your spirit is led by God, you are never truly lost, because even in the unknown, you are exactly where grace intends you to be. When God's guidance takes over your spirit, your strength stops being limited to what your body, mind, or emotions can handle. There is a shift that happens quietly and spiritually, where you move from human endurance to divine empowerment. You begin to realize that your capacity for patience, courage, faith, resilience, and endurance was never meant to rely solely on your own ability. There comes a point in life where human strength is not enough, when worries feel heavier than muscles can carry, when tears are easier than solutions, when exhaustion is louder than motivation, and when every logical option has been explored yet no breakthrough occurs. In that moment, something divinely mysterious happens. God steps in and strengthens what your flesh could not sustain. This supernatural strength does not just energize your body, it lifts your spirit, renews your mind, and empowers your soul in a way that surpasses understanding. Human strength is based on emotions, encouragement, energy, condition, sleep, resources, and circumstances. Divine strength is based on faith, promise, purpose, grace, and spiritual truth that does not change no matter what is happening around you. You begin to experience a kind of inner power that makes no sense to those watching and sometimes not even to yourself. During seasons when you should be broken, you remain standing. When you should have given up, you still breathe with purpose. When you should be silent, you still speak by faith. When everyone expects you to collapse under pressure, you rise through it. When life drains you, God sustains you. This is the supernatural power that enters when God guides your spirit, because He does not improve your strength, He replaces it. You start recognizing the difference between being strong out of ego and being strong through God. Human strength says, I can do it alone. Divine strength says, I can do all things because God is with me. Human strength forces, divine strength flows. Human strength depends on how much you can carry. Divine strength depends on how much you can surrender. True strength is found not when you fight harder but when you trust deeper. When God guides your spirit, you no longer see surrender as weakness, because you understand that surrender invites supernatural assistance. You follow a wisdom that says letting go is sometimes more powerful than holding on, and silence can speak louder than defense. You start realizing that real strength is not proven by what you overcome alone but by what God carries you through. A person guided by God becomes strong in a way that surprises even their own history. Past pain loses the power to define you. Trauma can no longer control you. Mistakes cannot imprison you. Regret cannot drain you. Fear cannot paralyze you. You realize that the strength coming into your life is not because your situation got easier, but because your spiritual foundation got stronger. You begin to fight battles differently, not with anxiety, anger, panic, or exhaustion, but with prayer, faith, endurance, and inner stillness. You no longer wage war with weapons of the world, because God has trained your spirit for spiritual battles. You learn that some victories come not by pushing harder but by kneeling deeper. Supernatural strength shows itself most clearly when you are under pressure. Anyone can appear strong when life is smooth, but true spiritual endurance appears when storms refuse to end. When God guides your spirit, storms no longer destroy you, they develop you. Trials do not break you, they build you. Pressure does not crush you, it shapes you. Pain does not silence you, it teaches you. Loss does not empty you, it repositions you. Every challenge becomes part of your spiritual training, because God never wastes pain. He uses it to strengthen areas you didn't know needed development. You begin to experience strength in new forms. Strength becomes patience in delay. Strength becomes faith in uncertainty. Strength becomes peace in confusion. Strength becomes kindness in offense. Strength becomes calmness in provocation. Strength becomes consistency in discipline. Strength becomes hope in hardship. Strength becomes wisdom in silence. Strength becomes gratitude in scarcity. Strength becomes integrity when tested. Strength becomes love even when wounded. All of this is only possible when God guides your spirit, because no human effort can produce strength this consistent or pure. Human will can imitate strength for a season, but divine empowerment produces strength as a lifestyle. Another sign that God is producing supernatural strength within you is that you stop breaking down from the same things that used to defeat you. Emotional triggers lose their power. Old habits lose their attraction. Negative voices lose their influence. You no longer panic when plans fail, because you trust that God has a better plan that will never fail. You no longer fear the unknown, because you realize that your strength does not come from prediction but from divine presence. You become unshakable, not because life becomes easier, but because God becomes your anchor. When God strengthens you, your focus shifts from fighting for survival to embracing purpose. You stop wasting energy on battles not assigned to you. You realize that not every argument, invitation, or criticism deserves your reaction. You begin to protect your spiritual energy because you understand that your strength has a mission. You no longer seek validation from people, because your identity is held securely by God. Strength guided by God is not loud, it is deeply rooted. It is not aggressive, it is confident. It does not boast, it simply endures and outlasts every attack. Supernatural strength also changes how you see failure. Instead of seeing it as the end, you see it as preparation. Every setback becomes training. Every disappointment becomes instruction. Every heartbreak becomes transformation. Every ending becomes direction. You develop the spiritual maturity to say that even if it hurt, it helped. Even if it confused you, it prepared you. Even if it slowed you down, it redirected you. And even if it broke you, it rebuilt you with better foundation. When God guides your spirit, you stop asking Him to make life easier and start asking Him to make you stronger. You no longer pray only for breakthroughs, you also pray for growth. discipline, self-control, wisdom, spiritual sensitivity, and inner endurance. You understand that God will not always remove the mountain, but He will give strength to climb it. He will not always calm the storm immediately, but He will calm the storm inside you. He will not always stop people from betraying you, but He will strengthen you so deeply that betrayal cannot stop your destiny. He will not always prevent loss, but He will give you faith to rebuild. One of the most powerful transformations is that your strength becomes a testimony rather than a performance. People around you begin to notice that something in you is not ordinary. They witness your endurance, your peace, your hope, your faith, your patience, and your calm spirit even under pressure. They do not see a perfect person, they see a person carried by perfect grace. They begin to wonder how you are still moving forward, still believing, still trying, still loving, still forgiving, still dreaming, still surviving. And the answer is not your personality, your education, your talent, or your willpower. The answer is that the breath of God is sustaining you. When God strengthens you, your spirit becomes bigger than your situation. Circumstances can no longer shrink your faith. It no longer matters how tall the giant is, because you know how great your God is. You do not fear scarcity, because you know God is provider. You do not fear abandonment, because God is always present. You do not fear uncertainty, because He holds the future. You do not fear darkness, because His light is within you. Strength is no longer measured by what you can lift or what you can endure, but by how deeply you trust God through every season. At the highest level of divine strength, you reach a place where you can walk through life undefeated even while wounded. You learn to pray while hurting, trust while confused, praise while disappointed, stand while tired, smile while uncertain, love while healing, and move forward while carrying scars. You realize that strength is not the absence of pain, it is the refusal to let pain control destiny. It is the ability to keep your spirit aligned, your heart surrendered, your will submitted, and your soul anchored despite the invisible battles you face. God's supernatural strength is the kind that remains when logic ends, when comfort leaves, when support disappears, and when everything seems impossible. It is the strength that rises in the valley, not on the mountaintop. It is the strength that is born in tears, not applause. It is the strength that grows in silence, not celebration. It is the strength that is built in prayer, not popularity. And when you carry this strength, you walk through life with a calm authority that needs no explanation. Because when God guides your spirit, your strength is not borrowed, it is given, sustained, and renewed daily by the one who never grows weak. When God guides your spirit, your path becomes aligned with destiny rather than personal desire, convenience, or the expectations of others. It becomes a journey rooted in divine purpose, not temporary satisfaction. You begin to understand that life is not about chasing what looks attractive, popular, or immediately rewarding. It is about walking toward what God has uniquely designed, prepared, and assigned for you since before you were even born. There is a sacred shift that occurs in the heart and mind. You stop asking, "What do I want to become?" and begin asking, "Who did God create me to be?" This question alone changes the entire direction of your life, because destiny is always bigger than desire, and God's plan always carries a deeper meaning than any personal ambit Ion could ever produce. When destiny begins to guide your spirit, you develop a spiritual intelligence that surpasses human reasoning. You no longer make decisions based solely on comfort, convenience, or approval. Instead, you are moved by conviction, wisdom, purpose, and divine alignment. Many times, desires come from emotions, but destiny comes from God's eternal plan. Desires can be influenced by trends, feelings, jealousy, impatience, or pressure, but destiny is influenced by calling, identity, character, timing, and spiritual preparation. When God aligns your path with destiny, He begins to gently remove, block, or redirect anything that does not serve your divine purpose. This may include relationships, habits, environments, opportunities, and even dreams that you once believed were perfect. But when God redirects, it is not punishment, it is protection from a plan that does not match your eternal assignment. As your walk becomes aligned with destiny, you develop a deeper understanding of the difference between something being good and being God's will. Not everything that looks promising is meant for you. Not every open door is your door, and not every opportunity is a divine opportunity. There are things that may look successful but are not sustainable for your spirit. There are people who may look compatible but are not aligned with where God is taking you. There are places that may feel comfortable but are not designed to grow your purpose. True destiny requires discernment, and when God is guiding your spirit, He gives you the clarity to recognize what aligns with purpose and what distracts from it. You gradually stop living according to external expectations, because destiny requires authenticity. You realize that you were not born to be a copy, competitor, or shadow of others. You were born to be a manifestation of God's unique plan. When God aligns your path, He removes the need for comparison. You begin to see that your journey has its own pace, its own seasons, and its own lessons. You stop questioning why others seem ahead or why certain things have not happened for you yet. You trust that God is not late, He is strategic. His timing is not controlled by your impatience but by your preparation, development, and readiness to handle what He has destined for you. Destiny never rushes, it unfolds. When you walk according to destiny, you also begin to feel uncomfortable in places you have outgrown. Even if those places once brought excitement, security, or validation, something inside you begins to feel unsettled. This is not frustration, it is spiritual transition. God sometimes uses discomfort as a signal that it is time to move, grow, or evolve. You may not have clarity about where He is taking you, but you have conviction that you cannot remain where you are. Destiny is not about staying in what feels familiar. It is about trusting God enough to step into what feels divine. One of the most powerful transformations that happen when God aligns your path is that you develop the strength to say no to what your flesh wants and say yes to what your spirit needs. You learn to choose growth over ease, calling over crowd pleasing, discipline over comfort, and long-term purpose over short-term pleasure. You stop settling for what is immediately available, because you recognize that destiny cannot be rushed, negotiated, or replaced. God will never give you something small if He has prepared something great. But sometimes, greatness requires waiting, pruning, maturing, and spiritual endurance. Destiny alignment also transforms how you see relationships. You become more intentional with the people you allow into your life. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into every season. Some people were sent for a lesson, not a lifetime. Some were part of your history, not your prophecy. You learn to love people from a pure heart, but you become wise about who influences your spirit and direction. Destiny requires partnerships, not attachments. Partnerships are aligned with purpose and growth, while attachments simply fill emotional space. God aligns you with destiny helpers, not comfort seekers. He brings people who challenge, sharpen, support, and elevate your calling, not those who distract, drain, or delay it. When destiny becomes your focus, your prayers also change. You no longer pray just to receive blessings, you pray for alignment, discernment, and obedience. Instead of asking God to fulfill your plans, You ask Him to reveal and prepare you for His. Your spiritual maturity develops, and you begin to pray like Jesus, "Not my will, but your will be done." This prayer is not weakness, it is the highest form of trust and divine surrender. Destiny is not about forcing life to match your desires, it is about transforming your desires to match God's purpose. You also begin to understand that destiny is not always glamorous or comfortable. It requires sacrifice, discipline, responsibility, patience, character development, and spiritual warfare. The right path is not always the easiest, sometimes it is the most challenging. But it is always the most meaningful. Along the journey, God removes layers of pride, insecurity, immaturity, fear, and self-dependence. He builds you for what He is preparing, because purpose requires strength, wisdom, and stability. You cannot carry a divine calling with a fragile spirit. Another aspect of destiny alignment is learning how to interpret delay differently. Delay is not denial, it is divine sequencing. Destiny has stages, and each stage prepares you for the next. When God is guiding your steps, He ensures that nothing arrives before you are spiritually, mentally, and emotionally ready to steward it. What you call waiting, God calls preparation. What feels like silence is training. What looks like stillness is refining. Every season has a purpose: the season of learning, the season of building, the season of healing, the season of separating, the season of testing, and the season of manifestation. Destiny is a journey, not a moment. One of the deepest evidences of destiny alignment is when you begin valuing obedience more than understanding. You won't always know why God leads you in certain directions or asks you to let go of certain things, but you follow Him because you trust Him. You realize that God doesn't owe explanations, He offers guidance. Obedience opens doors that talent, desire, and effort alone cannot. When you obey, you partner with heaven's script for your life. Destiny also teaches you that every battle has meaning. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "What is this preparing in me?" The challenges you face on a destiny-aligned path are not random. They are structured to strengthen your character, deepen your faith, sharpen your discernment, and elevate your spiritual authority. Every test is connected to your assignment. God never trains you for nothing. When God aligns your journey with destiny, you also find peace in walking alone when necessary. Loneliness no longer scares you. You understand that isolation is sometimes part of elevation. Eagles fly alone because they are not created for flocks. Diamonds are formed underground before being displayed. Seeds grow in darkness before breaking the surface. When destiny calls, separation is not abandonment. It is preparation for greater exposure, greater responsibility, and greater influence. Eventually, you come to understand that desire is about personal dreams, but destiny is about divine impact. Your life becomes more than survival or success, it becomes significance. You realize that God didn't create you just to live but to fulfill something eternal. Destiny is not about achieving fame, wealth, or recognition, it is about fulfilling purpose, touching lives, glorifying God, and leaving a legacy that heaven values. Personal desire seeks applause, but destiny seeks eternal impact. When God guides your spirit into destiny, your heart finally reaches a place where you no longer envy others, chase shortcuts, fear the unknown, or regret the past. You stand with assurance, peace, and quiet confidence, knowing that everything in your life, good or painful, is part of a divine masterpiece. You learn that destiny is not about arriving quickly but arriving ready. And when God leads, you can be certain of this: you will never miss what was meant for you, and nothing that is meant for you will ever be given to someone else. You become unshakable in your identity, unbreakable in your faith, unstoppable in your purpose, and unwavering in your walk, because destiny, once awakened, becomes stronger than every distraction, temptation, and limitation. And at that moment, you realize, a life guided by personal desire can make you successful, but a life guided by God's destiny will make you fulfilled, impactful, and eternally meaningful. And remember, when God is the one leading your spirit, no season is wasted, no pain is pointless, and no chapter is accidental. What He started in you, He will complete, in His way, in His timing, and for His glory. Keep your heart surrendered, your faith steady, and your spirit aligned. You are not walking alone, heaven is walking with you.